Thank you, Abby. Thanks so much for inviting me and having me here. I'm so excited to be here. In fact, last night I was so excited about this opportunity that I was having dinner with my mom, my sister, and two of my nieces. And I may have bragged just a little bit that I'd been invited to do the Rolodex thing with you guys. And my sister was like, "What will you talk about?" And my mom was like, "Of course she's going to go home right after this and plan what she's going to say." And I was kind of blasé. I was like, "It's my life story. I've lived it. No problem." Fast forward about 2 hours, and I'm home, and I turn on YouTube TV to our A&M United Methodist channel. I'm like, you know what? I should probably take a look at some of these to see the format and what's going on. And that was a big mistake. Really big, huge. Because I'm like, what? No notes? They have PowerPoints going? I don't have time for that. Oh no. Full-fledged panic mode. I'm not a Mike Workman who can speed talk and get all of his thoughts out so eloquently and deliver that really powerful, wise message. And I haven't done missionary work in Africa like Steve has. And let's face it, Chris Fields is awesome. I'm not a business professor slash missionary slash person who speaks for a living. However, after I took a deep breath, I realized that what you guys are supposed to be getting is a diversity of presentations, people talking about their life story. And if everybody's life story was exactly the same, how boring that would be. You would have already heard it all, and you wouldn't have shown up to listen to me. So, point number 1 of wisdom. When you let God be the author or co-author of your life, it's going to be amazing no matter what. So, I think that these different stories that you're hearing are designed to help you get some perspective. But with any good story, I also think it's important that you get to know the character just a little bit. So, God has gifted me with 2 distinct character traits. The first one is a sense of humor. I love to laugh, and I love to play practical jokes. I can lie with a straight face. And that may or may not have been used in my past to play some pretty awesome practical jokes, starting at the age of 5. Picture a cherubic, blonde, curly-haired, blue-eyed 5-year-old who's at her kindergarten teacher's house, and we're tie-dyeing shirts. And in walks her daughter, who is, I think she was in high school or college or something like that. And with a straight face, I showed her how proud I was of my tie-dyed shirts. And I was like, "Yeah, your mom let us tie-dye them in your room." And she's like, "What?" But because I was 5 and I didn't crack a smile and I didn't say anything, she immediately went to her room to make sure that her bedspread and everything didn't have tie-dye all over it. And then I'm going to share one other one with you, because my favorite practical joke that I've ever pulled was with a group of coaches at A&M Consolidated High School. And I'd gone to a track meet in Magnolia, and on the way back, I was asked if I would drive the Suburban back home, and the head coach sent one of the student athletes with me, and the bus pulls out, they leave, we get into the Suburban, and we're looking around, and I'm like, keys? Where are the keys? And we're digging through everything. We can't find the keys. Probably about 15 minutes later, we finally locate the keys in the glove compartment. We get home. We get behind them on the bus to help clean up. But I go up to the head coach and the other coaches, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, you didn't leave us the keys." And one of the assistant coaches, she's kind of gullible. She was like, "What did you do?" And I was like, "I had to hotwire the Suburban." And she was like, "Oh my gosh, you know how to hotwire cars?" And I'm like, "Of course." And the head coach, of course, knew he had left the keys, and so I just looked at him and was like, So I convinced this other assistant coach that I knew how to hotwire cars. We go the next day, and she wants to play a trick on one of our colleagues, and she's like, "Here's what you're gonna do. You need to go hotwire Coach Brady's car and move it, and she'll think it's been stolen." And I'm like, "Okay." So I go to Coach Brady, I'm like, "Robin, I need your keys because Tammy totally thinks I can hotwire cars, and we're gonna trick her." So I take the keys, I move the truck, Robin comes down to class, and she comes in and she's like, my truck is gone. I can't find my truck. And I'm like, what? Are you serious? Do you think it's been stolen? And Tammy is like, yeah, it's probably been stolen. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? And just egging her on. Finally, Robin looks like she's about to cry because she's actually laughing so hard. And she picks up the phone, pretends like she's gonna call the police, and Tammy's like, you're so busted. Susan hotwired the car. And the rest of us all looked at her and said, no, you're busted. Susan can't hotwire cars at all. And so I enjoy doing that kind of stuff, but please do not tell my boss. I don't think Ross Bjork wants to know that his assistant AD for compliance can straight-faced lie. I don't think that's a good look for the department. The NCAA, the SEC, they might have a problem with that as well, but I don't use it in my professional career. While I could, and have been tempted from time to time to use it, when you work in compliance, people freak out enough when you show up at their door, you call them or you text them, such that I sometimes have to just text, it's not an issue. Nothing's wrong. You know, I add that in because I've had friends tell me that I work with, they're like, oh, you scared me when you showed up, and I'm like, come on, how fearful am I? But the nature of the job makes people a little bit nervous from time to time. The second character trait is that I love sports. I think something about the age of 5 is significant in my life because that's when I developed the propensity to lie with a straight face and found my love for sports. I started off in track and then I moved on into softball and basketball and tennis and all kinds of different sports. And I've been fortunate enough to actually spend my entire life with athletics as an important part of my life. So now that you know a little bit about my character, I want to share with you that part of my life that started back when I was younger. I'm not going to dwell a whole lot on my growing up years, but it is a part of who I am, and so I kind of want to include that in my story. And if you don't know, I was born and raised here in College Station. My dad was a professor at the vet school, and my mom taught 2nd grade. So we lived over on George Bush, which used to be called Jersey, right across from the golf course, kind of in the shadow of Kyle Field. And my mom and dad thought it was important for us to be involved in all sorts of activities. So they put us in scouts, in piano lessons, sports of all kinds. I even took dance for about 2 years when I was 2 and 3, and that dance career is over. That's a whole nother story. Was not a great dancer, so stuck with sports, thank goodness. And we lived in a neighborhood over there in that area where everybody loved to play sports. So we're fortunate enough to have a vacant lot next door to one of my friends' houses. And so every season, we played the seasonal sport over at the Merkel's house. We had the vacant lot where we played football. Their driveway was the basketball court in the winter. And then in the spring and summer, the backyard and part of the field were the wiffle ball field. And so sports, totally loved them the entire time I was growing up. When I went to high school, I did select 2 sports and used them for the rest of my career. Ran track. My senior year, I ended up running cross country, but that was a one-shot deal. And then I also played basketball, and basketball was my absolute favorite sport. I loved it. If I had been good enough, I would have wanted to play in college, but I knew I was going to go to A&M, and so my career was over at high school. But I am a middle child. I have an older sister and a younger brother who thinks he's older than me, but I am truly in the middle. And that was a good placement for me. Some of you may think that that's explains a lot about me, but I liked it because I got to know both my siblings very well. And I have great siblings, have a great family. My extended family, a lot of them actually still live here in College Station, so we're very close, and it's an awesome family to be in. This is an awesome community to grow up in. And like I said, from high school, I went to A&M as well, so I obviously love College Station because I don't leave very often. When I went to college, I decided that I was going to study kinesiology. I wanted to be a teacher and a coach. My parents, who were both in the area of education, cautioned all 3 of us Tatum kids, no, don't go into education. Don't go into education. And like all know-it-all 18-year-olds, we listened and all went straight into education. So, 3 teachers in the family. When I studied kinesiology, I had my entire life mapped out and planned. I was going to get an all-level PE certification so that when I got married and had kids, if I had to work, I could teach elementary PE, have summers off, and not have to grade papers. So that was my master plan. And I'm sure God looked down on that master plan and said, ha, 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 you little jokester, I'm gonna get you. Because if I had known then what I know now, that I would still be single with no kids, I would have gone to med school. That's what I really, really, truly wanted to do. But I was too scared because I didn't think back then that you could actually have a career as a female, as a doctor, and raise a family. And so family was very important to me, always has been, and I opted to go the other route that I thought would enable me to do that, because that was more important to me than becoming a doctor. So point number 2 of wisdom, and I'm going to have 3 points of wisdom. I grew up in the era of Bob Waters, who had 3-point sermons, so I have 3 points of wisdom. And this second point of wisdom that I have for you says, don't limit your options by planning around an unknown future. All right? God has your life mapped out for you. And in fact, my favorite verse of all time is Jeremiah 29:11, for I know the plans I have for you, plans for a future, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. And so it's nice to plan, and you should have an idea of what you want to do. I'm not saying fly by the seat of your pants all the time, but be ready to rewrite your story. God's going to be that editor, and he's going to help you when things change to edit and rewrite. And he's been doing that with me and my story for years now, and things have been going quite well, I'd have to say. But anyway, as my little 18-year-old dreamer found out, things don't always go according to plan. And after graduation from A&M, I was a December graduate. How many of you are going to be December graduates? Okay. It's kind of hard sometimes in December, especially if you're a teacher, to find a job. So lo and behold, I graduate. I was proud of myself. I even graduated with honors. No job offers. What am I going to do? Well, I decided it would be important that I go to grad school. So I started applying to grad schools, and as luck would have it, University of North Carolina was the only school I was interested in whose application deadline I hadn't missed. So, fate would have it, I apply, I get accepted, I'm awarded an assistantship, and I packed my bags, and my brother and my dad moved me to Chapel Hill, North Carolina, which, for those of you who know me well, that's a little bit out of my comfort zone. I knew no one in North Carolina. The closest people that I had to reach out to were my cousins, Debbie and Scott Schaefer. Scott was working on his PhD at Clemson, 5 hours away. But at least they were on the same side of the country. But as luck would have it, my sister had recently taken a job in Germany. And so I was like, if Karen can go all the way to a foreign country, I can stay in America and go halfway across the United States for 2 years to go to school. And it was the best decision I ever made. I loved Chapel Hill and UNC. I still do. It's an amazing place. It's so much fun. They call it Blue Heaven for a reason. It actually has 4 seasons. Fall came along that first year, and I'm in grad school with all of these people who are from Boston and Michigan and New Jersey, and they had to kind of pull me out of the street one day because I was looking around going, whoa, wow, because the leaves had all changed colors, and I'd never really seen that before, and they were like, what is wrong with you? You're an idiot. And I'm like, no, in Texas where I'm from, the leaves go from green to brown to on the ground. That's it. That's all we get. We don't get this. And it's an amazing thing. It's one of God's greatest things that he does for us, the painting of those colors in the fall. It's just unfortunate we don't all get to see that every time. So I have lots of stories about UNC that if you guys are interested, I would be happy to share. They won a national championship in men's basketball while I was there, so a basketball freak like me loved it. Y'all are too young to know who he is, but Eric Montross, huge 7-foot guy. I got to ride in an elevator with him one time, and I came up to his waist, and that was it. And I got to meet Hubert Davis, because he was a student there at the same time, which totally dates me, I know, because you can go back now and find out when I actually graduated from UNC, but that's okay. UNC, again, totally fabulous place. I absolutely loved it. Again, though, graduated, was naive enough to believe that now that I have this awesome sport administration degree from a top-notch school like UNC, jobs are just going to come pouring in. No. I only applied at Division I schools. I didn't know that they actually want people who have real experience, not just internship experience. So I call my dad. I'm like, Dad, I've graduated. I have $45. What do I do? I don't have a job. I don't even have an offer. I have no prospects. He's like, well, I guess you come home. So he and my brother come back out to North Carolina 2 years later, move me back to my point of origin. And I'm right back in College Station, and I haven't left since except to travel. And I do love to travel, so I have seen lots of different areas of the world. I mentioned that my sister lives in Germany, or lived in Germany for 10 years. And so we got to go over every summer, and we just started picking places to visit. So I have traveled extensively around Europe and around the United States. So that's one of the things that when this stinking pandemic is over, I would love to get to do again. This is a kind of a chapter that God is editing in my life right now and in yours right now that I kind of am tired of this revision. I want it to be rewritten in a different way. And I'm sure you guys are ready for that as well. But we'll just have to continue to be patient on that. And so when I ended up back in College Station, this is when my professional life started. I went to College Station ISD offices to visit with a friend of mine, Gwen Elder, who's now the principal at A&M Consolidated High School. But at the time, she was in grad school, finishing up a degree, and she was working in the central office. And so I popped in to talk to her, and she was like, great timing. We're hiring basketball coaches. We'll call Sue. And Sue, of course, was Sue Betts, who was our basketball coach and retired just, I think, last year from, I think, about a 40 or a long time. She was there almost 50 years in College Station ISD. So she was a legend. And so picked up the phone, talked to Sue. Within a couple of days, I had a job. All right, I found out about the job while I was over in Europe because during my first rounds of interviews, I had on my new little suit and everything, and I went and interviewed with the principal and the science teacher and other people. I don't know, any local people know who Ross Rogers is, and he was the athletic director in College Station at the time. My interview with him was, hi, I'm Ross Rogers. Sue says we need to hire you. And that's how it was. But I also had to interview with the personnel director. And my mom and I were planning to leave for Germany. And so when they called and asked if I could interview, I was like, I need to take this interview, but I don't have time to change back into my suit and then get back into my plane wear to be on a plane for about 8 to 10 hours. And so I told them, I was like, I'm about to leave for the airport to fly to Europe. And they were like, just come as you are. I look down and I'm like in leggings, tennis shoes, and an oversized shirt, and I'm like, okay. So first job, interview with the personnel director, and they gave me a job anyway. And so I spent about 10 or 11 years. It was halfway because I stopped my job in the middle of a semester, but I was at A&M Consolidated High School and at the junior high teaching and coaching basketball and track. And I got to teach a wide variety of things, and I loved every bit of it. I taught science, I taught English on all levels, credit recovery, regular on-level, honors English. I got to teach in the Science Academy. That was a totally integrated curriculum. And so God knew how much I enjoyed learning and how much I enjoyed teaching people. So he put me with a lot of great people in order to impart whatever kind of knowledge I could. And it's one of those things that when you first start teaching, I wasn't certified in science. I had to get certified in science, but my kinesiology background at A&M luckily had prepared me with enough biology hours that they could emergency certify me And then I had to take a test in order to be able to certify science. So the first year that I was teaching, I had kids that were inquisitive, they were awesome, they would ask questions, and from time to time, I had to make up answers. I didn't necessarily know the answer. That propensity to lie? Oh. But don't worry, there's not a generation of kids out there who don't know the right things, because after they would ask the question, luckily most of the time, I was pretty much right. But on the rare occasion that I was wrong, I would come in the next day and I would be like, oh guys, you know that we had that great discussion yesterday? There's one little thing I'd like to go over again. I'm not sure we understood it the way I intended it. And I would just tell them what the right answer was. I didn't want them going home and telling their parents, well, Miss Tatum said blah, 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 blah. And the dads and moms would be going, oh my gosh. So always corrected it, but that was my start in education. And again, I loved being a teacher and I loved coaching. The interaction with young people was amazing. High school students, Alicia knows, we used to do high school girls Bible study here together. It's just incredible. And it was during this time while I was teaching that I actually got more involved here at our church. I grew up in this church. I've always gone to this church, haven't really been a member anywhere else. And at that time, I stuck my toes into a whole bunch of different things. I taught 3-year-old Sunday school. I was part of the choir for a while. I helped with MYF in the summers, got to go on a mission trip to Mexico with some of the youth. I got involved with Bible studies. Sunday worship, obviously, is important, so I was at church on Sunday mornings. And it really helped me get back to what I thought I needed to do spiritually and to improve my relationship with God. Because when I was at North Carolina, I'm not going to lie, there wasn't a church that I was comfortable with. So for 2 years, I really kind of didn't go to church. So coming back to College Station was a blessing in that it brought me directly back to my comfort zone where I knew I was going to be able to improve my walk with Christ and to learn from other people who had been around me my entire life. So one of the other programs that helped me a lot when I was teaching and coaching was the program we used to do with the youth called Elijah Partners. And Elijah Partners are where adults in the congregation are assigned a youth, and you secretly pray for your youth every day. You send them notes, cards, messages, little gifts from time to time, like for their birthday or Christmas. And the reason that this really helped me in my coaching is that during that time, I had one of my basketball players 2 different seasons. So it's very, very hard, and it's maybe a character flaw. I'm kind of competitive. I hate to lose. And it's like a switch that goes off when I step on the floor to coach. I'm like into it. I'm totally intense. In fact, all my English teacher friends would come to 1 game a year because they wanted to see me just totally change. And so I would get very, very intense, let's just say. And you can't help it. When you're coaching, you just yell. The gym is noisy. You're just yelling. But on those 2 seasons, let me tell you, it is incredibly difficult to yell at a bunch of girls when right across from you is the little girl you're praying for every single day. And so I found myself not yelling as much, being calmer, because there was a reason God wanted me to experience that. And I got to do it twice because evidently on the first go round, I didn't quite get it. So I needed it again. And I was able to finish out my coaching career in a little bit calmer mode of sharing information without having to yell so much. So like I said, I really, really enjoyed teaching and coaching. And the only reason I changed was because a new door was opened. And this one was just by chance. I was the person who was mentoring one of our new coaches in the department. She taught English and was the softball coach. And her husband was the director of compliance at A&M at the time. And when she heard that I had always wanted to work in college athletics and a job opened in his office, she was like, oh my gosh, Susan, you should totally apply for this. And I'm like, really? Really? Compliance? I mean, I know there's a manual, but you want me to apply for this? Okay, great, whatever. All right, so I apply for the job, and lo and behold, he hires me. And when I say I knew zero about compliance, I knew zero. So he took a big leap of faith, and that was really a God thing. Because I am a rule follower by nature, minus the whole lying thing. I'm a rule follower. And it's a good fit for me that I didn't even know existed when I was going through grad school. I just didn't. And so it was a new door that was open for me that truly, truly has been a good fit for me. And I think, again, that there's something to be learned from that. And point of wisdom number 3, relationships are important. You need to get to know people and make authentic relationships with them, because in my case, every single job I've had, I have to attribute to someone I knew. I know that I had the skills, but to get my foot in the door, even my student worker job at A&M, it was because a close family friend helped me get that job. The only thing I truly can say I did on my own was I got into A&M and I got into North Carolina, all on my own. After getting each job, I then worked extremely hard to prove that I deserved to have the opportunity that was given to me. But those relationships are extremely important. And so, I guess we're 17 years into it, so it's kind of stuck. It's been amazing. I can't even tell you how exciting and how rewarding it has been to work in our athletic department. I am surrounded by so many amazing coaches and student athletes on an everyday basis. My primary job responsibilities include monitoring recruiting, so I'm talking to coaches a lot, and also academic eligibility. So that brings in my education background, and it's a good fit for me. But it's one of those things where sometimes I kind of still have to pinch myself, and my mom reminds me if I ever start whining about, oh, my job, that's blah, blah, blah. Mom would be like, but you really have some nice perks. And I'm like, true, Mom, I do. I have some really nice perks, from tickets to nice sporting events, to Adidas gear, to, again, working with awesome people. Gary Blair will take my phone calls. So will Coach Henry. It's incredible. I have all these Hall of Fame coaches that I actually have met, and I know them. I've had conversations with them. I get to go to different sporting events. For example, one of the highlights has been for me that I got to go with our women's basketball team when they won their national championship. And I had my 5 minutes of fame on ESPN while we were there. And this is to the embarrassment of my family and my boss. But I told you guys about that intensity that comes into me when I'm involved in, normally it's when I'm coaching, but the former coach in me as a fan didn't really like how things were going after halftime when we came out in the championship game against Notre Dame. They immediately called 5 straight fouls on the Aggies. And I was like, that's fine. If you're gonna call it down there, you better call it down here too. It wasn't just a mass of people in the fan. It was the ESPN camera zeroed in, my face only, for all of America to see. And so here I am. Our other assistant director of compliance at the time had just sent out the day before an email about good sportsmanship. Lovely. The academic staff thought it would be awesome to print off screenshots and wallpaper my office. Luckily, they didn't do that. But what was awesome was we had a student athlete at the time named Gerald Fury. He was one of our track athletes. He was a fantastic runner, awesome human being. And he was like watching it with some of the other staff, and they said that Gerald just was like, that Miss Susan, she has our back. So I had his back, I had the team's back. It was justified. But the camera monitor was right in front of my boss, and he was at the championships with me, and he saw it, and he was like, oh no. So I lived that one down. That was one of the highlights. I got to go with our soccer team when they made their first appearance at the College Cup, and that was fantastic. Just any interaction that I get with our student athletes has almost always been rewarding. You know, I was around during the Johnny football time. That was exciting. You know, we were winning. I didn't have to deal with the other. That was, people higher up than me had that. So I got to just enjoy watching him play. And he did things that I'm sure if you watch, I mean, nobody can explain how he did the things that he did. It was incredible. And it was just it was a perfect storm of things to go right for us because that was the year we first to join the SEC. So it was an incredible year. We've reached heights of success that a lot of people didn't think we would in that conference that is so competitive. And our student athletes constantly amaze me. They are not only gifted athletically, they are awesome human beings. I chaired our awards committee for about 7 or 8 years, and I got to work with student athletes on postgraduate scholarships who had 4.0s, they were all Americans, and they did incredible work in the community. They loved doing service activities, and so getting to hear their backstories, like I'm sharing mine, was incredible. They led us through a book club meeting on Monday night that was just spot on. Keldrick Harper and Carlina Sample, and I was in a group with Jean Marie Jenkins from track. I can't tell you the insight and the wisdom that they shared with us on racial injustice in America. And I know you guys are probably hearing a lot about that, but we have young people in our athletic department who most people don't have any idea are able to do what they do, but I get to be around them all the time, except currently. I've been working from home for the past year, and so that's been a real struggle because I really miss the daily interaction. That's what I miss most from teaching is that daily interaction with young people. So what I try to do is continue to work with students as much as I can on campus. I'm an advisor for Christian Healthcare Leaders, which is a group of future medical professionals. I don't know why they chose, well, I do know why they chose me. It was through this church. One of the first presidents of the organization actually was a youth counselor with me, Emily Evans, and she asked me if I would help out with that. And it's been a very rewarding thing. They're great kids, they're super smart, and they also love to do service work, and they're on fire for Christ, and it's just so much fun to be surrounded by them. And so, again, interaction with students. It's something that I love. I'm very passionate about it. If I could change my career in just one more way before I decide to retire, it would be to get to do more student athlete development activities because, like I said, that book club on Monday followed by CHL meeting on Monday night. I was a guest lecturer for UNC graduate class on Tuesday. I'm here with you guys tonight. I mean, I have 4 things in 3 days, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. More interaction than I've had from working at home in the last year, I have to say. So I just really enjoy that. But that's pretty much the gist of my story, but I do want to, if we have time, I'll go through and and handle each of the questions that Abby emailed to me. She wanted to know how much of your success do you attribute to hard work and dedication, how much to luck, how much to your faith in God? I truly believe that God has put me or allowed me to get to where I am and that it's all been a part of His plan. I may not know the ultimate outcome of where I'm supposed to finish up in my career, but I know that I'm where I'm supposed to be. I have a great level of comfort with that, and I trust in that plan. I think my start at A&M was clearly luck because, as I said, I didn't really know anything about compliance. And so it was that I got lucky that David Batson took a chance on me. And it must be working out because I've been there for 17 years. So I feel like that lucky start was just really something that I needed. And then, like I said, I followed it up with hard work and dedication because I never wanted to disappoint him for taking that chance on me. And I have another great boss in Jonathan Bowling right now who lets us learn new things and try different things to keep the job exciting and so you don't get bored. But in the area of compliance, I have to tell you, it's always changing. All it takes is an email, a text message, a phone call, or a pop-in visit, and best laid plans go out the window because all of a sudden you got this hot potato issue you have to deal with, or You may have a coach that's like, I need to know now, 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 now. And you're going to do it. And it's important. And so you have to drop what you're doing and pick up in a new area to get things done that are timely in what we're doing. So I think that answers the first one. The second question, what steps have you taken to keep your faith alive after college? I explained what I did while I was teaching. In the 17 years since I've been at A&M, I've been able to do the same sort of things, a little bit more actually. Long hours in both jobs, but when I was teaching and coaching, my days started at 6 a.m. and went to 11 p.m. because we'd have morning practice with the freshmen. I would teach all day, then we'd have night practice or after school evening practice, and we'd finish about 6, meet with the coaches till about 6:30, go home, dinner, and then because I was an English teacher, I always had papers to grade or lessons to plan until about 11. So it was a very long day, and I didn't have as much time except for maybe on Sundays. With my current job, it's supposed to be an 8 to 5 job. It's not, but that's okay because it still gives me the flexibility to be involved in things on Wednesday nights. I can do Bible studies normally. I used to go in person on Wednesday night to Bible studies. Sunday school, I'm in a great Sunday school class with other people who are I think we were called at one point seekers and readers because we all love to read, but we were all and we're always seeking to learn more. So that's a great multi-generational group that I get a lot out of on Sunday mornings. Sunday worship again. Taught 3-year-old Sunday school again. My little 3-year-olds from the second go-around are now seniors in high school, so it's incredible to have watched them their entire faith journey through A&M United Methodist Church. So mission trip to Montana, which was a lot of fun, and doing the youth Bible study with Alicia and Christy Brochu. That was, well, she's not Brochu, sorry, Christy Wood. She was Christy Brochu when she was growing up. But those are some of the things that I truly enjoy doing, and that's some of the things I really love about our church. The last question, it was actually the first question. I moved it to the bottom though because I wanted to segue into my little ending thing. But what is one piece of wisdom that you use in your life every day? I gave you 3 points, the Bob Waters fashion, throughout. One of them, the first one was, when you allow God to co-author your story, it will be amazing and unique. Don't limit your options by planning around the unknown future, and relationships are important. Now, those are kind of overarching life kind of principles that I carry with me. Day to day, family first. Family first is always important to me. I think it's one of the reasons that I love still being in College Station. A lot of people have told me that I could move up professionally if I would leave A&M and go get different types of experience somewhere else, but I'm always like, this is my dream school, this is where I want to be. Why would I leave on the off chance that they might hire me back when the large majority of my family is here or within about a 2 or 3 hour drive, minus a niece who's she's in Stillwater at Oklahoma State. We couldn't convince her to come to A&M, but we've got one at A&M, another one coming in next year, and then hopefully my youngest niece will be at A&M here in about 3 years. So we're Aggies through and through. I love this community, and I love being around my family, and that's truly important to me. The other thing that I would like to share with you, it's just the last daily lesson, is that those relationships that you're creating, go ahead and nurture them. I'm constantly initiating, renewing, and extending those. But in addition to that, what you need to do is to enjoy the journey. You know, enjoy the journey and go big. And what I mean by that is that don't let fear rule your life or your decisions. Trust in God to help you experience everything that He has available to you out there. I think that you're called to use the skills and the talents that God has given you, whatever they are, in whatever way, wherever you are. So that's part of the journey. Enjoy it. And what I mean by going big is that, it sounds cliche, but let your light shine. You know, you have individual skills. Your story is one that God is continually writing, and He wants you to impress that upon other people. That's what we're all called to do. And so, do we still have enough time? I didn't realize I would talk this long. I kind of thought I'd be maybe stretching it to get to 30. So, but as a former English teacher, words have always been important to me. They have impact and they have meaning. And I've found 2 resources that I feel like will really capture that enjoy the journey, go big, that I'd like to share with y'all. The first one is a poem, and it's called Our Deepest Fear. And it's by Marianne Williamson. And I like to share this. Alicia's, I think, probably heard it like 3 or 4 times, maybe, because it's my favorite poem. And every time we do something that talks about being bold and letting your light shine, I bring this poem up. And so it goes like this. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine. As children do, we were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we're liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. And so that's been my favorite poem now for years. And the other thing, kind of as our it's a longer little benediction song, but it's the Jason Mraz song, Have It All. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but I thought if you'd let me, I would use that as my little parting message to you guys, because it's what I truly hope for my 4 nieces. It's what I hope for all the students that I come encounter with, that they have the kind of life that he talks about in that particular song. So let me pull it up real quick. Do I need to? I think I'll be able to play it loud enough. What do you think, Abby? Okay, I'll turn the volume up. Can y'all hear it?
Auspiciousness and causes of success. May you have the confidence to always do your best. May you take no effort in your being generous, sharing what you can, nothing more, nothing less. May you know the meaning of the word happiness. May you always lead from the beating in your chest. May you be treated like an esteemed guest. May you get to rest, may you catch your breath. May the best of your todays be the worst of your tomorrows. Whoa, may the road less paved be the road that you follow. Oh, well, here's to the hearts that you're gonna break. Here's to the lives that you're gonna change. Here's to the infinite possible ways to love you. I want you to have it. Here's to the good times we're gonna have. You don't need money, you got a free pass. Here's to the fact that I'll be sad without you. I want you to have it all. Slap bracelet. May you keep the chaos and the clutter off your desk. May you have unquestionable health and less stress. Having no possessions, though immeasurable wealth. May you get a gold star on your next test. May your educated guesses always be correct. And may you win prizes shining like diamonds. May you really own it each moment to the next. May the best of your todays be the worst of your tomorrows. Whoa, may the road less paved be the road that you follow. Whoa, well, here's to the hearts that you're gonna break. Here's to the lives that you're gonna change. Here's to the infinite possible ways to love you. I want you to have it. Here's to the good times we're gonna have. You don't need money, you got a free pass. Here's to the fact that I'll be sad without you. I want you to have it all. If you believe it, then
have this little thing that I do with music a lot because while I was in the choir and I took piano lessons, I'm not that musically gifted. But what I like to do with songs, especially like this one, is I like to think that there's somebody else's gift from God. And so I place God as the person who's singing. And that's what God wants for all of us. He wants us to have it all. And it's out there for our taking if we just let him do his thing and write our story and trust in him. So thank you guys so much for letting me come and talk to you. I've had a great time.